This is a disaster for the Chicago Bears as we get some injury news from the defensive side of the football. What does this mean going forward? Welcome to Bears Digest, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Dylan Guinzy. Thank you for joining me today. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. It looks like 67.5% of you have not done so already. So getting into this video here today, we are discussing Jaylon Johnson and that leg injury. There is some cause for concern here as his week 1 status is in doubt. Jaylon Johnson is our best corner, is probably our best defensive player overall, and it is of utmost importance that he is on the field for the week 1 primetime game against the Minnesota Vikings. As he will be covering Justin Jefferson, and that is the most important matchup on the field. Jaylon Johnson has been dealing with this leg injury coming into training camp. He has not been there. He has not been present. And there was a lot of mixed reporting on what was going on with that injury. We thought it was minor. Ryan Poles came on in a press conference, and he also started stating it was minor and, wasn't going to be a problem, or at least that's what he led us on to believe. And Jaylon Johnson is entering this year with a $21 million cap hit. He deserves it 100%. He got that extension there last year or years prior, and he absolutely deserves it. He's one of the best corners in football, and he's the best defensive back on our football team. But this injury is very concerning. Ben Johnson said in a statement here the other day that I think there's a scenario where he'll be ready for week 1, said Johnson. That's really the target date. I know he's working hard and diligently to get there for that. With those types of injuries that he's got, you just never know. You never know. So it's still early in that process, but I know he's attacking that rehab really well. This does not express any sort of positivity to me. This is not what was reported early on from Ryan Poles and other staff members about this injury. Honestly, they haven't even told us really, what it is or what it consists of. We know it's a lower leg injury, but we haven't really heard anything else. And it is very alarming considering how good of a player he is and how much we really need him. This is Jaylon Johnson's snapshot of his PFF grades last year. Snap count was almost top 10 in corners of the league. Overall grade, he was 20th, and honestly, it's better than that. He had probably a little bit of a down year overall, but still top 10 corner in National Football League. Interceptions, he had 2, and this upcoming game against the Vikings, he would be necessary. We're kind of entering that time period where we're in the second preseason week now. We're in that second preseason game. This is where we really need Jaylon Johnson to kind of get back into the fold. I know he's a pro. He is a professional. He's been a great player since he's got here after we drafted him in the second round there. But it's at a point where you would like to get him some reps in there. You would like to get him back into the fold. If it came out the week of the game that he's, now available and ready to play, that'd be awesome. We're all going to take that, right? But I think it's important for him to mesh with this defense overall on the field, them getting a feel for each other and everything like that. I think one positive out of this is probably him being out gives more guys behind him, depth-wise in the cornerback room, just some room to play and kind of feel themselves out, and the staff, being able to see those guys as well and how they perform. But we also, as you see here in this depth chart, we also have a Kyler Gordon injury. We also have Terrell Smith, who was just banged up in that preseason game. It looks like it was a hamstring, and we all know those linger very long. So we're looking at this depth chart here behind Jaylon. We have Nahshon Wright, who has been impressing and been playing pretty well. And I think Dennis Allen and co, are happy with how he's playing. But overall, he's been a career journeyman. He hasn't been, a top-notch starter or anything like that. So having him as our number 1 guy is definitely concerning, especially with who he will be having to guard week 1 in Justin Jefferson. Tyreek Stevenson at that second spot, that's fine. I think he's a great man-to-man corner. I think he's the best tackler that we have opposite of Jaylon Johnson. And I think he's going to play well. but he is not a guy that you want to be thrusted into a higher role. I think he's still working on his emotional side of the game, his IQ side of the game, and his physical side of the game is fine, but the other stuff is lacking a little bit, and I think needs some work. So we don't really want to thrust him into a higher role for this beginning of the season here. Kyler Gordon is dealing with an injury as well. I think he'll be back. I don't know if they're going to thrust him back into, these joint practices or anything like that. He left practice last Thursday before that joint practice on Friday with the Miami Dolphins. So we'll see how that progresses. I hope he is back in and working out and with the fellas because we need that chemistry and camaraderie with the defensive backs. Now, we also turn our attention to Za Frazier, who has been out all of training camp, and prior to that, with a family issue, with a personal matter that he has been excused for. Hope to goodness, everything is okay there. Obviously, it's, probably something big. So, our thoughts and prayers are with Za Frazier and his family. But he is not in the fold right now either. So that leaves us with just a couple of guys. And other than that, just some camp bodies going forward. So this Jaylon Johnson injury is something to monitor. I did not like what we heard out of Ben Johnson last week in that press conference about this injury. Saying that there's a scenario that he plays in week 1 is, definitely not what you want to hear as a fan base earning for their number 1 corner to play against the Minnesota Vikings, in which we're really going to need it. So we don't like to hear that. I hope we get some better, more positive news going forward with Jaylon Johnson. We'll see how that progresses. But overall, he is an important piece for our team. And this would be an absolute disaster if we do not have him for week 1. Jaylon Johnson has always covered Justin Jefferson well enough to succeed. And if a top 10 corner is covering Justin Jefferson well enough, the guys behind Jaylon Johnson on this team are going to have no chance. Justin is always going to get his receptions. He's always going to get his yards. Now, how can you contain him going throughout a game? How can you contain him in the fourth quarter? Can you not allow him to break the game open and just ruin your day completely? And I think Jaylon Johnson gives you the best opportunity to do that. So overall, let's hope and pray we have a healthy Jaylon Johnson for week 1. We will stay up to date on these, news and rumors that come through regarding this, but this is something to monitor over the next couple weeks here with Jaylon and this defensive back room. So that is it for today. Thank you for joining us at Bears Digest. Again, if you have not subscribed, please do so. We'll be here with all the news and updates as we progress into preseason week 2. Joint practices against the Bills upcoming this Friday, and that preseason game against the Bills at home Sunday night. So we are looking forward to that. We'll stay up to date on anything regarding, starters coming back, any injuries that kind of came up over the weekend, and we will be back tomorrow. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.